Welcome to the deep dive. We all face it, right? That moment someone says no. It could be in a big negotiation, asking for something at work, or even just figuring out dinner plans.
Absolutely. Objections. They're just part of interacting with people.
Exactly. So today, we're diving deep into why we hear no, and maybe more importantly, how you can actually, navigate those moments effectively.
Yeah, we're drawing heavily from Jeb Blount's book, Objections, which really gets into the art and science of getting past no.
Right. Our mission here is pretty clear. Understand the psychology, get some real actionable strategies, and hopefully give you, our listener, a few of those aha moments, turn those roadblocks into, well, maybe not highways, but at least clearer paths.
Definitely. We know you want the key info without wading through everything, so we're aiming to pull out the most important stuff for you, get you that fresh perspective.
Okay, let's get into it. First off, objections aren't new, are they?
Not at all. I mean, as long as someone's been asking for anything, someone else has probably been saying, I don't know about that.
Yeah. And there's this constant search, isn't there, for the magic words, the silver bullet technique to just make no disappear.
Oh, totally. Everyone wants that secret trick. But Blount makes a really strong point early on. There are no tricks. No single phrase works every time. It doesn't exist.
It's almost disappointing in a way.
It can feel like it.
Yeah.
And, there are plenty of people out there claiming they have the secret sauce.
Right. The gurus.
Yeah. But often those same people aren't actually that great at handling objections themselves. It's less about tricks and more about understanding, well, humans.
Which leads us nicely into the emotional side of things. This was fascinating for me. We try to argue with logic, but objections often start with emotion, don't they?
They really do. Blount talks about Dr. Antonio Damasio's work basically showing decisions are emotional first, then we apply logic. Feels a bit backward, maybe.
It does. But maybe it makes sense from a survival standpoint. Our brains are trying to keep us safe.
Exactly. Your brain's constantly scanning, looking for threats, looking for the unexpected. It's job number one.
And it's lazy. Is that fair to say?
Cognitively lazy, yeah. It likes shortcuts, heuristics. It wants the easy path.
So how does that create objections for you?
Well, think about it. You present something new. Yeah. Instead of deep analysis, the brain goes, oh, okay, what's this like that I already know? And boom, assumption. Oh, you're just like competitor X. Shortcut taken. Objection based on an assumption, not facts.
Gotcha. And then there's the amygdala, the brain's alarm system.
Right. It perks up at disruptions, things that seem important for survival, socially or physically. But if your approach is just, the same old predictable pitch...
It doesn't even register, just noise.
Pretty much. Yeah. It needs something to grab its attention to signal, this is different, pay attention. Otherwise, dismissal is easy.
The book also mentions negativity bias. We just latch onto the bad stuff more easily.
Oh, absolutely. Think about online reviews, right? One bad one can feel heavier than 10 good ones.
Totally.
And competitors can use this. That aren't true, which ties into the illusory truth effect. Basically, the more you hear something, even a lie, the more likely you are to believe it's true. Repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity feels like truth.
Okay, wow. And there's another one. Frequency elision.
Yeah, that's when you learn about something and suddenly you start seeing it everywhere. So if a competitor plants a negative seed and the prospect starts looking for evidence, they'll probably find things to confirm it, even if it's biased.
So negative stuff sticks, repetition makes lies feel true, and we start seeing what we expect to see. That's a tough combo for you to overcome.
It really is. Which brings us back to a core idea in the book, emotional control.
The person with the most control has the advantage.
In essence, yes. In these conversations, emotions are flying on both sides. If you can manage yours, you're more likely to guide the conversation where you want it to go.
Let's talk more about that core emotion. Rejection. The book says it actually hurts, like physical pain hurt.
It's pretty wild, isn't it? Brain imaging studies actually show that social rejection lights up some of the same areas as physical pain.
So it's not just in your head.
Not at all. And interestingly, unlike maybe sadness or anger, you can't just easily reason rejection away. Telling yourself, don't take it personally, often. Well, it doesn't really stop the sting, does it?
No, it really doesn't. Why is it so powerful for us?
Likely evolutionary. Back in the day, being kicked out of the tribe, that was basically a death sentence.
Right, safety in numbers.
Exactly. So being highly sensitive to rejection meant you'd work harder to fit in, follow the rules, stay safe. That sensitivity got passed down. It's baked into us.
And this fear, this potential social pain can trigger our fight or flight response, just like a physical threat.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Even just thinking about asking for something where you might get rejected can start that cascade.
Yeah.
Amygdala sounds the alarm, adrenaline and cortisol start pumping.
Preparing you to fight the objection or run away screaming.
Metaphorically, yeah.
Yeah.
And you feel it physically, don't you? Heart pounds, maybe you flush.
Stomach churns. Yeah.
Pupils dilate, vision might narrow, and crucially, blood flow shifts away from your rational brain, the neocortex.
So it literally becomes harder to think straight.
Precisely. Your body's prepping your muscles, not your debate skills. The initial response is automatic, but the management of it, getting the thinking brain back online, that's the skill you can develop.
The book also links this fear to other things like insecurity or needing to feel significant.
Yeah, they amplify each other. If you're already feeling insecure, the fear of rejection looms larger, makes you hesitant.
Holds you back.
Right. And that need for significance, to feel accepted and important rejection, is a direct threat to that. So it triggers an even stronger defensive reaction, maybe making you too pushy or too eager, even desperate.
So how do we build this rejection proofing the book talks about? Sounds like emotional armor.
Sort of. The first step, like with most things, is just awareness. Noticing your specific reactions when you feel that fear creeping in.
Like Jia Jiang, the guy who deliberately sought out rejection.
Exactly. Extreme example, maybe, but it highlights the idea. Understand the difference between feeling the fear and being controlled by it.
Okay, so notice it. Then what?
Start managing your internal dialogue. What are you telling yourself? Can you reframe it? And manage the physical signs. Can you consciously slow your breathing? Can you maintain open body language?
Fake it till you make it, almost. Project calm, even if you're churning inside.
To an extent, yes. Projecting confidence can actually help you feel more confident. And don't internalize rudeness.
Ah, right. Someone's maybe just having a bad day.
Probably. It's usually not about you. Dwelling on it just drains your energy. Blount mentions writing NetXT on an index card.
As a reminder to just move on.
Yeah. Simple physical cue. Acknowledge the rejection. Learn if you can. Then NetXT. Focus on the next opportunity.
Physiology plays a role too, right? Posture, even clothes.
Definitely. Amy Cuddy's power opposing research gets mentioned. Standing tall, shoulders back, can actually change your hormone levels, make you feel more powerful.
So Mom was right about standing up straight.
Pretty much. And dressing well, feeling put together, that boosts confidence too. It's about controlling the controllable elements that influence your state.
And longer-term stuff. Fitness, sleep.
Hugely important for emotional resilience. Being fit builds discipline, improves self-esteem, helps manage stress. Even a little exercise is better than none. ABTN. Anything better than nothing.
ABTN. I like that.
And sleep. Seriously critical. Arianna Huffington, Joe DeSena, they stress this. Lack of sleep tanks your emotional regulation. Makes everything harder.
Okay, so we're working on our internal state, but what about in the moment? Objection hits, fight or flight kicks in. The book talks about a ledge.
Yes. The ledge technique. It's about creating a pause. A deliberate space between the objection hitting you and you responding.
Buying time for your rational brain to catch up.
Exactly that. The initial hormonal surge is quick. You just need a few seconds. The ledge is a memorized automatic response you can use.
Right way.
Things like, that's interesting, tell me more about that, or okay, I hear you, or even, that's exactly why I called. Something neutral you can say without thinking.
So you don't just blurt out something defensive or stupid because your brain's offline.
Precisely. It stops you from reacting impulsively, from that emotional, panicked state. Gives the neocortex a chance to re-engage.
It's all about perspective, isn't it? The book compares fear on a battlefield to fear of sales rejection.
It's a striking comparison. For some, asking for the sale feels scarier than actual danger. But it highlights that fear is often about perception.
And the story about the older sailors in WWII.
Yeah, fascinating. They were apparently more likely to survive ship attacks, not because they were fitter, but because they had a different mindset towards the obstacle. They saw it differently, reacted differently.
Mindset is key. Okay, let's shift to strategy. Mapping stakeholders, why is that so important for you? Why not just deal with your main contact?
Because deals, especially complex ones, rarely involve just one person. Being one-dimensional, only talking to your initial contact is asking for trouble. You'll get blindsided by objections from people you didn't even know mattered.
So you need to map the battlefield, so to speak.
You do. Identify everyone involved. The book uses the basic framework. Yeah, stands for buyers, the ones with authority. Amplifiers, your internal champions. Seekers, info gatherers, often no power. Influencers can sway things, positive or negative. and coaches insiders who can give you intel.
Knowing who helps you anticipate objections from different angles.
Exactly. Tailor your approach, build relationships across the board. It protects the deal.
The book also mentions the self-disclosure loop. What's that?
It's that little dopamine hit you get from talking about yourself. Feels good, right? It helps build rapport, which is good. But it can also be a trap if you spend the whole meeting talking about you instead of focusing on the prospect's needs and moving things forward. Balance is key.
Right. Okay, let's talk prospecting. Those first few seconds of a call or email, you often get immediate pushback. RBOs, the book calls them.
Yep, reflex responses, brush-offs, and sometimes true objections, though those are rarer right at the start. You're interrupting someone, so resistance is normal.
And there's a 3-step framework for handling these RBOs.
Yes, a specific turnaround framework. And crucially, it relies on having practiced, repeatable responses. Scripts, essentially.
Scripts. Doesn't that sound robotic?
It can if you don't practice. But remember, fight or flight. When you get that instant, not interested, your thinking brain checks out for a second. Trying to be brilliantly spontaneous then often fails.
So the script is like the automatic response to buy time and stay on track.
Exactly. You rehearse it until it sounds natural, like a politician with a teleprompter. It keeps you in control.
Can you give an example, like, we used you before, bad experience?
Sure. A scripted response might be, Nancy, that's exactly why I called. I'd like to understand what happened. How about we grab 15 minutes next Wednesday at 3:00? It acknowledges, pivots, and asks for the micro-commitment.
Or the classic not interested.
Maybe something like, a lot of my best clients said that at first until they saw mentioned specific potential benefit. Look, maybe we're not a fit. Maybe we are. Wouldn't it make sense to take 10 minutes just to find out for sure? How about Friday at 2:10?
Acknowledges, offers value, asks again. Okay. The book shares that raw story about someone just hanging up. Bitch just hung up.
Yeah, it's visceral. It captures that feeling of blatant rejection. And it's okay to feel annoyed or slighted.
But don't let it derail your whole day.
Right. Put it in perspective. Maybe they spilled coffee on themselves seconds before you called. Maybe their boss just yelled at them. It's rarely personal, even when it feels like it. NXT.
And this leads to the idea that yes, has a number. Persistence.
Big time. The story of closing a deal on the 52nd attempt is incredible.
52. Wow.
It really drives home that persistence pays off, especially if you genuinely believe you can help. Don't give up after 1 or 2 tries.
Which connects to knowing your numbers, right? Sales is a numbers game. Your funnel.
Absolutely critical for you. Leads to MQLs, MQLs to sequels, attempts to contacts to meetings, and meetings to close. You need to know your ratios because the data tells you where the leaks are. Where do you need to improve? Are you not making enough calls? Is your meeting conversion rate low? It takes the emotion out and lets you focus your efforts where they'll have the most impact.
Okay, makes sense. Let's shift to objections later in the process. Micro-commitments, what are those exactly?
They're the small agreements you get along the way. Agreeing to a next meeting, setting specific info, doing a demo. They test engagement and build momentum.
And the cardinal rule.
Never leave a meeting without a firm next step. Not, I'll call you next week, but okay, so we'll meet next Tuesday at 10 a.m. to review the proposal, right? Get it on the calendar.
Why do people push back on these smaller asks?
Lots of reasons. Maybe they don't see the value in that specific next step. Maybe they aren't the real decision maker. Maybe they've already mentally checked out. Maybe they just don't like you.
So how do you handle that brush off? Just send me the info.
You need to clearly articulate the value for them of that next step. What's in it for them? Less stress, better insights, a tangible demo. Spell it out.
Connect it to their needs.
Exactly. Then ask again. And if they still resist, there's the takeaway technique.
Which is?
You calmly say something like, okay, it sounds like you're pretty happy with how things are now. Maybe this isn't the right time, or perhaps I can't actually add the value I thought I could. Sometimes taking it away makes them lean back in.
Interesting. Okay, now the big ones. Buying commitment objections. Price, competitors, needing guarantees.
Yeah, these are more specific to the deal. The framework here is relate, clarify, minimize.
Okay, break that down. Relate.
Empathize first. Connect human to human. I get it. Price is always important. Or, I understand wanting to be sure about that guarantee.
Oopie.
Acknowledge their feeling.
Step 2, clarify.
Don't assume you know the real issue behind the stated objection. Ask open-ended questions. When you say the price is too high, what are you comparing it to? Or, tell me more about your concerns regarding the implementation. Get them talking. Dig deeper.
Avoid leading questions.
Definitely. Just explore their perspective. Then, minimize.
Minimize the objection.
Reduce its emotional weight, yes. But while maximizing the value you offer, remind them of the pains they have that you solve. Remind them of the benefits they already agreed were important, your pocket full of yeses.
Bring them back to why they started talking to you in the first place.
Exactly. And remind them of the cost of inaction. What happens if they don't solve this problem? Use social proof here too.
Case studies, testimonials.
Yes, especially from similar companies or people. It reduces perceived risk. Look, Company X had the same concern, but here's how it worked out for them. Make it relevant.
So, relate, clarify, minimize. It's a structured way to respond without getting defensive.
That's the goal. Keep the conversation moving forward constructively.
This all seems way easier if you have a strong pipeline, doesn't it? The book emphasizes that.
Absolutely crucial. A full pipeline gives you emotional control. You're less desperate, more able to be selective, and more willing to walk away from low-probability deals.
Because low-probability prospects just amplify objections anyway.
Totally. They often aren't serious buyers. Ultra-high performers are disciplined about qualifying hard and focusing their time where it counts. They walk away more often.
And discovery is key to minimizing objections in the first place.
It's everything. Building the business case starts and ends with truly understanding the prospect's world through thorough discovery.
Prepare your questions, have clear objectives for each meeting.
Yes, and use confirmation conversations, quick follow-ups just to verify, okay, did I understand correctly that your top priorities are X, Y, and Z?
Then there's murder boarding. Sounds intense.
It is, but incredibly valuable for big deals. You basically try to kill your own deal.
Oh.
You brainstorm every single thing that could possibly go wrong. Every objection, every internal political issue, every competitor move, every potential roadblock, no matter how unlikely.
To expose your blind spots.
Exactly. Where are you being overly optimistic? What haven't you considered? It forces you to stress test everything and prepare responses proactively. Avoids nasty surprises.
Wow. That takes discipline. Okay, wrapping up. The final section is about the relentless pursuit of yes.
Yeah, it brings it all together with powerful stories of perseverance. Stephen King's pile of rejection, slips for Carrie.
Colonel Sanders and KFC, Fred Smith and FedEx.
Exactly. People who faced massive amounts of no but kept going. It's a reminder that success usually isn't easy. It's often paid for in advance with hard work and resilience against rejection.
The fear holds so many people back.
Probably more than any other single factor. But the book argues rejection can actually be fuel.
Fuel? How?
It can spark creativity, it teaches you grit, it builds resilience. Sometimes getting rejected means you're actually pushing boundaries, trying something new.
Right.
Like Shaquem Griffin in football.
Right, overcoming perceived limitations.
It's about choosing not to be a victim of rejection, but using it.
Yeah.
Learning from it. Letting it motivate you rather than stop you. Stop making excuses, basically.
Okay, so let's try and summarize the key takeaways from this deep dive for our listener.
I think the big ones are: objections are fundamentally emotional, tied to brain biases. You have to understand that first.
Then manage your own emotions, especially that fear of rejection and the fight or flight thing.
Right. Develop that self-awareness and use techniques like the ledge or just breathing to stay calm.
And have practical frameworks like the RBO turnaround or relate, clarify, minimize, ready to go.
Yep. Plus, maintain relentless persistence, but combine it with disciplined qualification and thorough discovery. Don't just chase everything.
And keep that pipeline full for emotional leverage.
That's a pretty good summary. It's about understanding the psychology, managing yourself, using smart techniques, and having the grit to keep going.
Well, this has definitely been a valuable dive. Hopefully you, the listener, can see how these ideas apply way beyond just sales calls, negotiations, personal relationships, anywhere you might encounter resistance.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Go for it.
Think about how many amazing ideas, businesses, or even just personal goals might have died simply because someone was too afraid of hearing no. What might you be holding back on right now because of that fear? What if you reframed rejection? Not as failure, but as evidence you're trying something worthwhile. What if embracing the possibility of rejection was actually the path toward your goals?
Yeah.
Something to chew on.